Good morning, doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning, Venkatesh. Nice to be back.
Thank you. So today's topic is Seva, which is service. And we look at why it's such an important part of an approach to wellness. It's a form of sadhana or a form of sort of managing and training our mind. And there are a lot of good reasons why it's one of the best ways of doing that. It's therefore a very good way to work on our wellness. Over to you, doctor.
Okay. Thanks again, Venkatesh. Seva is what we are now doing and we will continue to do. So, Seva and karma go together in a way. You don't have to use very sophisticated, complicated expressions. But if you are doing something for others, it's a Seva. And that act is a karma. So, Seva and karma, two sides of the same coin. And of course, you are welcome to devise your own methodology of Seva and karma. But today we are going to look at Seva more closely. And Seva, as you can see here, is an act of selfless service. Now, there's no selfish interest anywhere. See, like the mother feeding a child and giving milk is a Seva and karma both. But basically, Seva is something that you give without expecting any reward. And karma is, of course, neutral. Karma has no aspect of anything at all. So Seva is selfless. There is no selfishness involved in this. Like going back to the best example that we talked about, the baby being given milk. Seva. And nothing in return. God knows what the baby will do after it grows up. But at the moment, there is no transaction between mother and child or the baby. So it is Seva. So it is an act, by the way. It is an action or action. Action is a favorite expression of Venkatesh. And self means you are not expecting anything at all, but you are doing it. So that is Seva. So let's take a closer look at what this whole thing is about. Next slide, please. Now there is an expression in Sanskrit. It goes Paropakarartham idam shariram. Now you can split it into a few parts. Paropakar. Para upakar means helping others. Para upakar. Upakarartham means towards the end. Para upakarartham idam shariram. Idam is this, shariram is body. Your body is just meant for serving others. And there is nothing else. Otherwise, the body is a useless bundle of flesh or something. But if you are putting it to use, putting it to good use to help others, then it is paropakara. Paropakaratham idam shariram. So the meaning is self-explanatory. And one is supposed to just live as a paropakara. So this is taking it to the very highest level. Paropakara, upakara, idam shariram is the highest level of service, seva. So the body is given to help others. Any comment, Venkatesh?
I think we will unfold various reasons why this is something that actually makes a lot of sense. Why even for us as individuals, living in that way is actually the best way to live.
Right. Now here you see a slide in which a gentleman, ascetic-looking gentleman, and talking about 3 or 4 aspects of living and doing work and service to others. The first one is sadhana. Sadhana is something that you do in a very sustained manner. Again, sadhana has to be not non-selfish, unselfish. And that will give you the discipline that it sort of normally goes with spirituality. Now, spirituality doesn't mean anything. Everything is spiritual. Every karma is spiritual, as Bhagavad Gita would say. And if you are doing it, and if you continue to do it regularly, day in and day out, it becomes sadhana. And that discipline of body, mind, and soul. So, if you are looking at seva, you are looking at 2 or 3 dimensions normally attributable to Bhagavad Gita. The sadhana and spiritual discipline are 2 sides of the coin. In fact, there is another saintly man living somewhere in the North Indian Himalayas who talks about 3S. Seva, sadhana, and satsang. Now, the
Correct.
seva is sadhana is there. Satsang is something which will automatically happen if you observe sadhana and if
And
you are
are doing
disciplined.
seva. Correct.
Satsang is good company.
Correct.
Hmm?
Correct.
And this good company doesn't mean that you just do something without thinking about it or without understanding or anything. Just it's not just a simple blind uh, companionship.
Right.
So that satsang, seva, sadhana, satsang is also a trinity which
Correct.
will keep coming up now and then. Yeah, next slide, Venkatesh.
Yeah.
Now here you see a huge congregation of people sitting and eating.
A langar, as they call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is the sahabhojan, this is a sahabhojan, means sitting down and eating along with others is a sort of a karma, and it's a sort of a discipline, it is a seva.
Right.
It's a seva and rolled into one. And here you see, it may be in Amritsar or it may be anywhere else, wherever there is a sort of a congregation of people, collecting only to help others through food.
Correct.
It is something that you can very easily appreciate. 90% of the people you see there are poor and
Right.
they don't have the ability to feed themselves. But then in a collective form, somebody is giving them the food and somebody is organizing that. That is a seva.
Correct.
And if you continue to do it again and again, it is sadhana. Like that. So you can devise your own methodology. Yeah. Any comments, Venkatesh?
Yeah. No, I think on the very first slide, we didn't discuss it, but actually right on top, there were the symbols that actually the concept of selfless service is part of all religions. This scene is set in is clearly set in a gurudwara, where the concept of langar, which is that of actually serving food and doing seva, kar seva, right? You do seva for either keeping the gurudwara clean, for other pilgrims, for serving food, is such an important part of that religion. It cuts across religions, but this is a very good example of how it has actually been made a very integral part of one religion, Sikhism, right? This is one of the main things you do when you go to a gurudwara is to do seva.
Right. And of course, satsang automatically happens. Yeah. There is another way of looking at sadhana.
Correct.
Sadhana is keeping your mind and body and soul light and happy. Yeah. So you are working towards not happiness in the physical sense, but sense of being at bliss, at peace. And that is keeping your mind clear, light, and happy. This is Sri Ravi Shankar's methodology of looking at it, which is good. Now, as I said, this will keep on happening. If you do sadhana very well, then automatically other things follow. The mind, body, soul. Other things will automatically happen if you keep your being clean and happy and so forth. So this is a recurring theme you'll see, and it is fine. You appreciate that recurring nature of that, and then you achieve sadhana.
No, I think this is a very good, I thought, slide to connect the three S's, as you said, or especially seva and sadhana. Why are they going together in this discussion? The way I see it is sadhana is, from what you're saying, from its connection here, it's a sort of you're working on keeping your mind. It's some kind of a spiritual discipline. And you work at it consistently, and then you get the benefit like exercise or anything else. Sadhana is a spiritual exercise. And I actually see seva as actually one of the most accessible, one of the most relevant kinds of sadhanas we can do. There are other types of sadhana, but seva is a sadhana. And it's a very good way of, if you consistently do it, you actually keep your mind light, clear, and happy. So that's in a nutshell, this slide has actually encapsulated why this is part of our series on wellness, right? This is one of the most automatic ways to get, a good spiritual and emotional wellness comes from this act of selfless service.
Right. Very true. Now, the essence of sadhana has been distilled here, and the author and the poet, or whosoever, in the form of Bhagavad Gita, is talking about the essence. What is the essence? As Venkatesh just now mentioned, the essence is the quintessence of the good things you are doing in body, mind, and soul. And that is one way of looking at it. You keep doing it, If you do it repeatedly, as Aristotle will put it, if you do it repeatedly, it becomes a habit for you, and that is ingrained in your very being. So, essence of sadhana, in the eyes of Bhagavad Gita, is what you and I should be practicing, and hopefully we are practicing in pursuit of the truth. Yeah. Next slide, please. Now, to do all this, one has to have a controlled body. Now, for example, we are driving a car, you have to have both accelerator and brake. Otherwise, you have an accelerator problem somewhere or the other. So, driving the car, all right, but then you have to control it. How do you control our body as a vehicle? Our body is a vehicle, ultimately. By controlling your breathing, you control your mind. Now, this costs you nothing, and you control your mind, body, and so forth just by controlling your breath, which is in your control. Many people don't realize the value of controlling yourself, body, mind, and soul through breath. And that is why the big emphasis on pranayama, which you will see shortly. Pranayama is you are taking in air and giving out air. It is as simple as that. Air in, air out. So that is the simplest form of pranayama. But then if you do it, if you start doing it, very soon you will see how your own body, your own breath is getting controlled. Now, breath control happens. If you have, again, you are sits and sass, whatever. Now, you are taking care of your body, you're taking care of your breath, and you're taking care of your mind, and all of them are happening together. There is nothing sequential. Everything is happening together. Hence, the value of pranayama. And pranayama is something you can perform anywhere, provided you sit down to observe the rules. The rules are within you. And then you ways of getting the prana. Prana is the breath of life. The pranayama is the control of the breath of life, which will control your body, your mind, and eventually your soul. Now, many people don't go up to the soul part because they tend to scoff at soul and they stop at mind and body. But then the spirit happens automatically, and you should respect. Yeah. Any comments, Venkatesh?
Absolutely, doctor. And one just for the listeners to connect it. Why are these two slides on pranayam and breathing part of a PPT on or a discussion on seva? Is like we discussed, they are all connected to the fact that seva and sadhana go together. To do sadhana, you need to be able to manage your mind and body. For example, a selfless act, while it is one of our very key aspects of man as a as a social animal, being selfish or being upset or being angry can prevent you from being in the seva mode, and being in a zone where you actually think of managing your mind, managing your body before you can get into a state where you can do selfless service. As we are about to come to, whether you talk about it as servant leadership, etc. First, you need to be able to control your mind and your body. So they are all interconnected, and that's what we are trying to discuss here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the word leadership automatically comes here. For example, sitting there doing nothing except breathing and observing your breath is a form of leadership. Simply breathing is leadership. Yes. This is the concept in Jitendriya concept in Hinduism, particularly in Jainism. Jainism is a very really strong way of controlling body and mind. And Hinduism is there, but ultimately they are one and the same. I mean, there is no need to argue about which is what, which is first and which is next. But basically, when you are in control of yourself, you are leading yourself. You are practicing leadership of yourself. And this leadership will happen if you start helping others. Now, you see how the whole thing goes around in a full circle. You start with helping others, and then you help yourself, and it goes on. It's a positive spiral. It is a positive spiral over which you have to have control, and automatically your pranayam happens, your leadership happens,
your
sadhana
and so forth. Happens. Yeah. And I think a very interesting part of this is that when you serve others, like you said, you serve yourself because in a manner you are controlling, if I can put it that way, your baser self or your baser instincts. you are suppressing them, or they are sort of automatically, not even forcibly being suppressed. You are elevating yourself by doing things for others is good for you, and automatically that helps actually others as well, in a better way than if you were to sort of say, I'm your leader, or I'm trying to do something for you. So that seva is, like you said, selfless service requires this entire, composite set of managing one's mind, body, and soul, like you said. And it's both a means of doing it, and it's necessary for that as well.
Right, right, right. Now, this term servant leadership was brought to use by some philosophers and thinkers and sociologists,
Right,
like those who are very conscious of their very existence, They
right,
will say, you are in control, and you are in control of what? You are in control of yourself, and you are indirectly controlling those around you, but not by coercion, not by showing carrots and bricks and so forth. You simply lead your way through the crowd of doers and non-doers, and
by serving.
your
Correct.
automatically comes. Again, all these things happen automatically. There is no need to force anything.
Correct.
Right from pranayam. In pranayam also, in yogasan, for example, they will say, no, force your body or mind to do something. Let it happen.
Right.
And that is the best way to let it happen. And it may sound a little odd, but that happens. It takes time. Again, going back to Aristotle, you are what you do repeatedly. So if you keep doing repeatedly this, you are bound to have this control. And servant leadership is an integral culmination of what it should be and what it does.
Correct.
So,
And servant
here
leadership is need not be at some very, of course, it is in evidence with, the biggest either religious leaders across time, or even if you look at it, very often we follow people who automatically are examples of selfless service, whether it is Gandhiji and so on. But also
right,
even closer to home, like you said, apart from dependence, children follow their parents because there is very clearly the bond that is created, or the respect and authority that is created from selfless service, right? We can see it in our families, in our communities, our teachers. Why do we venerate our teachers? We venerate our teachers because our teachers are serving us at some level selflessly, because they do a lot more than they get paid for, right? So it is
right,
something
right,
very deep rooted in human psychology, that we automatically follow those who selflessly give themselves of themselves.
right, right. True, true. Now, here there is an interesting expression from Swami Vivekananda.
Right,
Vivekanand became Swami later, but then he was just Narendra to begin with.
right,
And Narendra was a curious, inquisitive kind of a person. And he felt that he's crossing the barriers of body, mind, and soul. And then he's touching physically and mentally the leadership abilities that are happening. But he couldn't crystallize the whole thing into an action hypothesis. He had the mantra, he had the ability, but he couldn't work out a commercially viable, or not commercially in
not
the sense,
commercially.
not in
Yeah,
the negative sense, not in the negative sense. And he was in search of a guru. Now, the term guru is very deep. Now, this also we can have a
we
separate
can have a session.
thing.
Yeah,
Guru. Some people laugh, as I'm doing myself, I'm laughing. And so he went around, and then he went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa.
right,
And then he said, look, I am realized, I have existed, and I have started existing in the real sense, etc., etc. Now, this went on for some time. And then Vivekananda was looking for a working hypothesis, workable hypothesis.
correct, correct.
He said, give me some mantra, that mantra should not be just an utterance of words and whatever. And then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, I'll give you a two-liner. Number one liner is Atmanaha Mokshartham. Atmanaha means for yourself.
Right,
Moksha is the liberation. Moksha Artham means towards liberation. So
correct,
the first thing is you have to liberate your own mind. You have to liberate yourself. That is
right,
Atmanaha Mokshartham. That is mantra one.
right,
And mantra two, simply because you want to do Atmanaha Mokshartham, you don't drop everything and then go to Himalayas and sit there and
right,
then wait for somebody to give you some food. You
right.
know, he said, don't do that. Don't go to any Himalayan guru cave where somebody will do something to you and then
For
you
you, yeah,
fill
you do it for
yourself.
the Jagat. Yeah,
So Atmanaha Mokshartham. And the next part is through Bhagavad Gita, Jagat Hitaya cha. Jagat Hita. Jagat is world.
Right.
Hita is good.
Right.
Hitaya cha. Atmanaha Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya cha. Now, this
Right.
was the working practical hypothesis of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa imparted to Vivekananda.
Correct.
And from that onwards, it is no looking back. He
Right.
said, I'll keep working, and when I'm working myself, I'm leading myself. Atmanaha moksha, I'm obtaining moksha for myself, and at
By
the same
doing
time, I'm helping others. Jagat hitaya. It's a dual purpose mantra that he gave, if you can
that.
call it mantra, and that set up the whole world, the whole university of Vivekananda's mission.
That.
And he never took a day off, and he never really preached anything to anybody.
Correct.
And those things happened automatically.
That.
And then he said, I'll keep improving myself. That is again leadership of its own. And then Atmanaha Mokshartham and Jagat Hitayacha. This became the working hypothesis. And this is again Seva explained in different words.
Yes.
You are
Absolutely.
serving yourself and you are serving others. Any comments, Venkatesh?
No. I think perfectly put. The two go beautifully together. That in working for Jagata Hitaya, your moksha absolutely automatically happens, right? And
Right.
equally, unless you have worked on yourself, you are in no position to solve the world. So, like you said, they connect to each other very well.
Right. Good. Now, there is a word called tapascharya. Tapascharya is tapaha is a penance,
Right.
And there are people who do tapas standing in knee-deep water,
Right.
who do walking on
Standing
fire,
on one foot.
etc.,
Yes.
etc. But then Vivekananda didn't believe in that.
Right.
He said, don't go to Himalayas only to stand on an ice block or something.
Right.
He said tapascharya, but the tapascharya should be karma oriented, and
Correct.
that karma is helping you and others.
Correct.
So it is tapascharya
Jagadhita.
of selfless kind.
Correct.
Yeah. Go ahead, Venkatesh, go ahead.
No, which connects exactly back to the previous slide, which was that uh, we have been discussing through this whole thing that seva and sadhana are so interlinked. And tapascharya is one way of thinking about sadhana. You are sort of working on yourself by doing penance. But the best penance
Right,
or the only penance that is useful is that helps the world, not something
right,
that you do alone in a cave. And
right.
that automatically brings about the focus on seva, right? And selfless service.
Correct. Very true. Now, here is the good old modern saying, if you like.
Right.
Service to humanity, service to God. Now,
Correct.
this you can attribute it to Christianity, you can attribute to Islam.
Correct.
Yeah. First serve humanity.
Correct.
Yeah, automatically you'll serve yourself. So don't start serving yourself, but then you start serving others. There is seva,
Correct.
and that will ultimately, automatically culminate in God.
Correct.
So you discover your God through service to
Serving
humanity.
humans. Correct.
Yeah. Next slide, please. And there is another aspect of modern thinking. Here is Oliver Wendell Holmes over the teacups in his work, and he
Right.
was a very scholarly,
Erudite. Yeah. Thinker.
erudite person. And he said, they also serve who only stand and wait. Now, for example, you go to a restaurant, and if you are in a sophisticated restaurant, you have a butler,
Right. Or
you
a
have,
waiter. Yeah.
in a hotel, yeah. And you just stand there. And somebody will
Yeah.
say, what is this man doing? Nothing. He's just standing there.
Right.
But he's standing so that he can serve. If
Correct.
somebody wants a towel, he goes and gets it. If somebody wants a glass of water, he goes and gets it.
Correct.
Until then, he is just a dormant kind of a person. He's just standing there. So
Correct.
he said, they also serve who only stand and wait. So standing and waiting is a part of your karma.
Correct.
And the karma should not be, sort of,
Derided. Yeah. It is a
yeah,
very
derided.
important part of seva. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So stand there and serve. Doesn't matter. You're doing nothing. It's okay. But you're standing there. You're very standing there adds an element of life,
Correct.
thought and action.
Correct.
And that is a noble thing. That is again a tapascharya.
Correct.
Standing and waiting is a tapascharya.
Correct.
You've got Gaganagiri Maharaj near Karjat who does only standing in water up to knee deep.
Right.
And that is again what he gets enlightenment. That's another issue.
Right.
But then he would discipline his mind, body, and soul in such a way that it is happening under him, with him, for him, and so
Got
forth.
got
Any comments,
One-
Venkatesh?
No, I think this is the last slide. So I'll sum up then.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Doctor, before I do?
No, that's it. Yeah, your job now.
Yeah. No, so perfect. I think a wonderful way to actually conclude the session also that uh, serving selfless service takes many, many forms, right? From actively trying to help people, doing things for people around you, whether it's your family, your community, your country, in different forms. It is actually the best way of working on yourself, the sadhana, right? And that's also the best way to getting, like we said, sadhana being a way of getting a clear, happy mind. Uh, there is no better way than seva. And so seva and sadhana are interlinked. Uh, Another way of looking at it is that that's your best way to getting nirvana, right? Which is we just discussed
Right.
that the best way or the best path to moksha is through working on jagadhitaya, which is on world, you know, working for the world of a common good, and that need not be something very big, right? Even like this last slide says, you do what you're doing or you follow whoever you are following right now. You don't have to be a leader in the active sense. You don't need to be jumping around saying I forcing things down people's throats. Just being there for people when they need you in the way they need you is itself service, right? Uh,
Right.
so wonderful, doctor. Thank you so much. And in all of this,
Thank you.
actually, we finally end up helping ourselves. So it is our,
Thank
our
you.
our own moksha that we are working on by serving others.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor. See you next week. Take care.
See
Bye.
you next week. Bye.